correct that. Thanks for letting me know that.
Mobile device.
Yeah.
Still have excellent. Sure.
Yeah.
Something a little different here, but
Oh, yeah.
we'll kind of go with this. I'm not sure what's going on with YouTube. I don't know if they changed some their user things, but Zoom is working.
Awesome. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, Adam's on Zoom.
Let's get started. Good evening, welcome to the fire commissioners. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. All by one sounds part of pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with justice. Chris, here. Rich, yep. Brian, here. Nick, here. Dan, here. All right, is there any public session for agenda items only? Public session, agenda items only. Hearing none, we'll move right into district building report. Mr. Christina, how are we doing, sir?
Very good tonight, fellas. Construction, it's in progress. They demoed, they framed a few walls. They're just waiting on a couple of items with the plumber to start his demo, and then we'll be right at it. Other than that, I got nothing really, just that, construction's going. I talk to Bobby quite often, and we're in contact back and forth all the time, and the construction manager over there, Gary Clark from Schoolhouse, is there 3 days a week, 5-6 hours a day, just checking on progress, so.
I understand you're there a little bit more than that.
I'm just something fun to do, so not a big deal.
Chris, and
I just want to thank you again, Joe, for the talk. You guys are right on.
Well, we're just trying to do the right thing.
And
you know what I mean?
I appreciate it.
But there's been a couple of fuzzy things that we're trying to work through, and we're just, especially Bob, he's just staying right after it, so.
I was at the meeting last Wednesday, 2 Wednesdays ago,
Yeah,
and was impressed how a lot of positive feedback about the work Bob, you guys are doing, Joe, you're doing. I understand you're right there with the hard hat right on.
and there is another meeting right at Bob this Wednesday.
Yeah. Yep.
9:30. It's Wednesday, 9:30.
No, 8:30.
8:30. All right, department president's reports. Even months will go with Lionsville. That's what he said.
We don't have much of a building over there right now, so really not too much going on. One of the things that was brought up at our meeting, last Tuesday night was, is there a possibility that we could get a copy of the minutes of the board each month? So that we can post it over to Firehouse, that, be able to do that for us? What we want to try and do is get everything posted over there. We're gonna post our minutes and the commissioners meeting minutes, and so that everything's there, so the membership can take it to see what's going on. A lot of times, some of the times I'm not here, or somebody else isn't here to represent my end of the department, and some of the information doesn't get back or gets, miscommunicated. So I don't know if that's, if that's something that you'd be able to take and do for us, so we get a copy of it.
I would point out that our minutes don't get, like, the January minutes won't be approved till tonight.
Right.
So you wouldn't get, they wouldn't get the January minutes till after.
No, that's fine. It's just so we can get a copy of it, so we can post it, each month as we go along, so whatever.
So Mark, if you remind me at each monthly meeting, you can just have my copy on the way out the door.
Okay. If you don't mind.
And we also do post a draft.
That's what I saw.
On the website. It just really contains the resolutions and the motions. Doesn't have every little nitty gritty on it.
Yeah.
But that's also on our website, and I keep them up there like 6
Okay.
months. So.
Yeah, fine.
I mean, even that's helpful, at least you know the decision made. Because I thought we were doing that already, doing like a.
I don't think a lot of.
condensed
like a vanilla version to meet the requirements.
Right.
And then the form.
I don't think a lot of our guys realize take it even that they can go online and get it.
Yeah, well, Tom,
I
We'll get back to it.
had something I was gonna bring up later in the meeting, but it relates to this. Those that were here last month, remember the spirited discussion that one of your members, one of the Lions Club members and I got into at the meeting. And we had a follow-up discussion afterwards, which was a little less spirited, a lot less spirited. And one of the things that came out of it was that it probably wouldn't be a bad idea for both departments to receive at their monthly meeting, commissioner's report. And it's very doable because there's commissioner at, either Chris or Nick is probably gonna be there at our Lions Club meeting. And either Dan, Brian, or I are gonna be here at the informational meeting. Right? And if necessary, if Nick and Chris are both in the Adirondacks, wherever the hell they go, we'll host people over a couple of meetings. This way, there could be a direct opportunity for us to talk, not just read the minutes and try and figure out what the priorities are, but to really stress the priorities, communicate things that are important. Right. Now, in my discussion with that member, I said, we can't force that.
Right.
We can't go to the fire companies and say, we want to go to your meeting and give a report, because it's your meeting.
Right.
I told him that if they wanted that, and if you wanted to do that, that was something the fire company was gonna have to ask. I was gonna run that by the board tonight, because that meeting, the discussion that him and I had was since last meeting, this is the first meeting we had. So that was the solution we came up with, because when we tried to analyze the argument that we got into, it came down to, he felt that information that was given here at the commissioner's meeting never made it back to the Waynesville Fire Department. And I said, I found that hard to believe, because there was, typically there's multiple Waynesville firemen here at a commissioner's meeting. And that, I know that the president was at that, had that information and would have taken it back. I don't know why that information didn't get shared. But that we came up with that as a possible solution. So I'm just gonna leave it at that right now. We can discuss it later at the board, what we want to do. And I would get both presidents here right now.
Yeah.
If that's something you guys
I'm
wanted to
I'm
do.
sure in my meeting, I could take and, call on Chris or Nick, say, give us an update of what's going on. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to take, let us know.
no, I'll definitely have some comments on it whenever the time is.
Oh, okay, let's talk about it.
We're still in public session, so if you want to wait till.
Yeah, let's wait till.
Farther along here.
Okay, that's all I got.
Okay, President Steer, DFD President Report.
Building use request was submitted back in January for a defensive driving course to be held here at the firehouse on March 2nd from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. That course is going to be open to all members, and depending on the turnout, we have a lot of openings. We'll open it up to others. Bob Durivage is the coordinator on that, so that's approved. We submitted 2 new firefighter applications to the district. The first one's Callahan Burkhart, who is the grandson of past Chief Bob Burkhart Sr., and also a new member, Andrew Thomas. Both of them living in the rural response area and come with the recommendation of the executive committee and membership of the fire department. Background checks were completed to both meet the standards for the district. Bob has those applications. We also have 1 or 2 other firefighter applications pending right now, which is good news. So this year it seems like we're getting some of these people in, and that's great. At our last monthly meeting at the firehouse, we preliminarily are planning to participate in the 2024 Recruit New York Open House Weekend for 1 day only. My recruitment committee and the chiefs haven't really told me which of the 2 days, it would be either April 13th or 14th that we're looking to have an open house. It would be a big deal, be a small contingent of members here, maybe have some food for the public, information, and we'd market that prior to the event. So, is that something you'd like to build a youth request, or is that just something we can post?
I mean, that's firematic, so you should be able to put that on your own.
So we're good to go on that. Okay, and we'll let you know, I'll push out an email once we know the exact dates that we're looking at. And lastly, and I know it's on the agenda tonight, is DFD has a recruitment and retention committee, as you know, and there's been talks with different members about possibly seeking additional funding for the departments to help fund that venture. Because we've had a committee for several years now. It's proven to be positive and recruiting people. And we're looking to expand that more so because obviously there's a lot of staffing needs. So with that, if there's any action that the district might be able to do, and I know it's on your agenda tonight, we would greatly support that, especially for seeking out some grant funding for the district and pushing that maybe out and sharing it with both departments. That would be very helpful to us. And our chairperson has been in contact with East English School District again. I know in the past they've invited the fire department to come and be represented at like Labor Day or something, community service like day. So we're waiting to hear more from the school district about that. And the last thing I have is, and I don't know whether the district received written notification about this, but we had a member, Brian Jones. He filed a request to change from an active firefighter to a supporting member of just the fire company this past month, mostly because of his participation. He realizes he can't meet the criteria as firefighters, so he decided to supporting state of them. With respect to our fire company receiving minutes, we'd be more than welcome in receiving minutes. I don't know, so we need a formal report. Our agenda is pretty lengthy every month at a company level. And it's my job and the chief's job to report back to our membership and we have on important topics. If they want to hear more, they can come and join us at any commissioners meeting. We tell them that every month.
Nope, no, she definitely do. I guess as noted in the application that was being passed around, I was doing here earlier, there's an application for Hawaiian skill. We got a text message from Paul Devanos from the sheriff's office saying that the person did pass her background check about the paperwork and email. There's a copy of the text from the sheriff's department. So I didn't see the point holding the person about hold other one. I just didn't have the actual piece of paper.
Yeah, I guess it was miscommunication on their part. It was supposed to have been sent out. I think it's sent out.
Yeah, and he's obviously falls down. He can't get to his email till the morning, I guess, from what happens on the phone there. So who was under membership, still use form. I don't know if we had a chance to look at them yet or not, or. Yeah. So we have the two forms there. You can just probably approve those now, with some other forms, so.
There's two here.
Yeah, it's just one.
Oh, I thought it was two, sorry, two applications.
Yeah.
So motion to the still use form. Sorry. Motion made by Nick, second by Rich, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Application right here. All right, approval of Parliament's minutes. We have a chance to look them over. There's two sets there.
Two sets, that'd be good. Organization, monthly. I'll make a motion to approve both. I'll second.
First made by Rich, second by Chris, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. Standing. Sign this. Treasurer's report. Sean.
Here's the bank recs for you to review and sign up on. The money market account has a reconciled balance of $944,918.09. Of that amount, $532,544 capital reserve equipment, $385,964 capital reserve building. The repairs was $26,000. $409. The check account had a reconciled balance of $39,773.83. The building project for WFD had a reconciled balance of $2,484,270.04. There's a mistake on here.
Okay.
So we cut a check to Finney for $85,792.12. And I took it out of our general fund money market account. It should have came out of the WFD bond fund account. So I have to make an amendment to this report. Just basically, it's going to reduce the WFD capital project by that $85,792 and increase the money market by the $85,792. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
No, it's not okay. Yell at me, tell me to do some push-ups.
Can't yell at your session.
The, also the auditors were here, well, I do, but the auditors were here this week, Wednesday, Thursday. Everything looks good. I have some additional data I have to compile for them regarding fixed assets and so forth, and cleaning that up. Otherwise, it went pretty well. We talked about simplifying. I don't know if you guys recall. Way back when we did the budget, way back when, bless you, it was really extensive and long because we had a breakdown for all the costs of WFD, all the costs for DFD, all the costs for NGFD. And I have a chart of accounts that's like 4 pages long if I print it all out, like a trial balance. And we did that so that we can, if we wanted to compare DFD to WFD after the merger and so forth, I think price spend. But anyways, there's a cleaner way of doing it. So I think this year, I was talking to Bob about it, we're going to reduce the chart of accounts, and there's these things called classes. So when the bill comes in, it's for WFD. I put it on the regular expense item, but there'll only be like one expense item. There won't be one for each 3 entities. Follow me? But there's these classes, so I can put it in under, let's say, like, hey, office supplies, WFD, office supplies, DFD. So it'll just clean up the whole process really, and it'll make it smoother with the auditors, because they have my trial balance, it's like 3 or 4 pages long, they have to key all that stuff into their auditing software program. Now they're only keying like 1 page worth of stuff, so
At least
it'll make things smoother going forward. But I do apologize for that error in my treasurer's report. It's really.
have a resolution for the treasurer. So, Dan, second by Chris, roll call.
Chris, Rich,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Dan,
Right, approval of current month invoices. Wilson had the,
So you guys know on our little form here that was sent out for the water bill for minus bills, not $670.60. It's gonna be $67.06.
nice catch. Yeah, that's good.
I believe the correct amount of check was sent out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was- we
It's
didn't-
now
we didn't pay on that.
$708 and they're just gonna send you to read.
Yep.
Oh, we're not recording this, are
Yeah, on this one,
we? I was kidding. We did do it for $57.
I want to comment on this one about the work that Bob and I know Jeff was involved in, these two, and Chief Oakville as well. These 2 Vandermolen bills for 2023. I know that these guys have contacted Vandermolen well before the first of the year and said, everything in so that we get everything cleaned up at the end of 2023. And then these bills came in late January. And I know how upset they were when it came in, and they immediately called me and explained it, the apparatus. And, you know, Bob did his work trying to get them to back it down a little bit, so they made them all even back down to one bill. You know, so. And it looks like, from the looks of it, looking over the paperwork and the email exchanges, most of that work on truck 4.2 was just exploratory, trying to figure out what the problem was. I don't even know that they ever did figure out the problem, what was fixed for it. I don't, you know, maybe people they had more of that, but I don't know that it's fixed. We're paying 6,300 for multiple days worth of repairs. There was a day that they had, what, 15 or 16 hours logged on it?
Like 10 hours on a couple separate days.
Double digit hours.
Yeah.
So obviously they had two people work,
They did.
so it's like.
We didn't know if the truck was fixed or.
Yeah.
It is, it is fixed, and Chief Littlefield's on Zoom, but the truck is fixed. With regard to that, they were waiting to hear back if we wanted to do some other type of method of connection.
I just want the board to know that, I mean, there was due diligence done on the part of our people. This is, you know, their reflection on how they handle the bill or how they handle the repair, so.
And the downside, this comes out of the 24 budget. So
Yeah.
you're already
That's the problem.
8,000 in the hole.
No,
No, it
I
doesn't.
think we're gonna have room, I'm gonna be able to accrue it.
Okay, that's,
Yeah.
that's good news. That's good news. That was a concern right there.
It's gonna be close, but I'm gonna be probably most of it, I'll be able to come.
No, it's just, you start behind before you do it.
Yeah, Bob warned me about that, so we made some adjustments.
Well, that'd be good, at least, you got anything else for the invoices?
Motion to approve that.
As resolution approved by Rich, second by Chris, roll call.
Chris? Aye. Rich?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Ken? Aye.
All right, correspondence, let you keep out there for a second, Bob, and
Yep.
a little bit of here.
Yeah, we have a few things. So received the FEMA fiscal year 2023, the AFG program, the routine notification letter from some of the political entities. A 2024, January 29, it's a dispatch procedural change proposal that came from the county that went out to the chiefs. That's put in there. We received several checks, one from the town of North Greenbush for our levy taxes, the 1.608704. Made Sean happy that we got that. We received a dividend check from New York SIF. That's our workers' comp carrier for district employees. And if they do well, we get a dividend back on that. We received the check from DFD for IT Eclipse services, $777, and the same from Wyanskill for $755.10. We also received the Greene County Commercial Bank month-end collateral statement ending January 31, 24. We received the DeFreeseville building request for primaries and elections for 2024 from Janice Hannigan. It will be 4 this year, presidential primary in April, the routine one in June, and then the general election in November. We also received a check from Sean Kerwin for cell phone reimbursement for $300. And we received that on 2/2.
That was for, if you remember, I use my fire district phone for FASB work sometimes, so they're giving me money towards the phone, so I'm just going to turn it over to the district. I probably should do it more time, even until the end of the year. More push-ups, I would.
It helps off test as Xander bill. So.
And do we gotta take action that, for the election, that's kind of a.
No, yeah, no, it's you guys approve that. And then on letters sent, there was a letter sent to the North Greenwich Planning Board regarding the Quackenderry Hotel by Chief Clute. We sent a 2024 notice of enrolled member status to the North Greenbush assessor. That was for the partial tax exemption. There were no changes from last year, so that's what that form indicated, and that's the new form that we're using right now going forward that you approved at the organizational meeting. And 2 letters of disclosure of interest letters were sent out. However, I'm going to have to go into Dropbox because I must have cut and pasted the wrong one. So Dan Wilson's is he got the right one in email, but when I put it in Dropbox, I must have just copied the wrong one. So one was sent for Nick Scifo and one for Dan Wilson Jr. And we normally send these out right around the time that we do the policy review and acknowledgements. And that is it.
Quick question on that.
Yes,
Regarding the member status to the North Greenbush assessor.
yes,
For those of us, there's a lot of us that I guess have that for life. And we
Yes.
submitted everything last year. So theoretically, we really shouldn't have to do anything.
you do.
Do you think this is the first year that, you know, that should carry over? Should we call her? And like, hey, just, you have everything set, or do you think we're,
I think you're fine because I had a conversation with her and had a conversation with Sean about it. And she's the one that notified us about the 3 2-year members saying what's their status. So she sent the email to us saying, what's the status of those individuals? Are they still active members? I asked her, I said, what about all the 20 plus? She goes, well, all those 20 plus years they're in. So
you did ask?
that was Patty Rubino, and I talked to Sean about it. I mean, it really went pretty seamless. It worked,
We'll see when we get our tax bills.
I mean, it, not
Yeah.
saying people shouldn't, I'm just saying she specifically made mention of the 20 plus year people, all the applications that she received last year, they're there for life. So I think it went pretty well.
Where it's gonna get a little funky. Not to be that sort of wet blanket on this, probably. Your generation firefighter starts to die off. Mrs. Garrett finds a boy toy, decides to strike out within the house, then she loses the exemption. Okay, so I don't know how the assessor's gonna know that unless it comes, you know, so.
I guess if I'm
They
going,
deal with that all the time, veterans exemptions, so
What's that?
they deal with that all the time, veterans exemptions. People find that, usually the assessor finds out when somebody makes a complaint about their neighbor who get the veterans exemption for that, but they died 3 years ago.
Mr. Garrett would do that. One and done, right?
that's right.
All right. In the old business. Carrying on, new business. So first I'm going to surplus of PPE. To Dropbox, maybe you see there, looks like boots, pants, helmets, coats. That a motion to declare surplus or resolution?
It's a resolution.
Resolution by Nick to surplus on that itemized list, second by Chris, roll call.
Chris. Aye. Rich.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Ken.
I,
The value of less than $20,000.
Yes.
Put that in there.
$8 bucks. As President Steer alluded to, there's discussion, like I talked to some people on a little bit about retention. Right now, each company, I did find out once, but does have a committee also, I believe, I know Teresa had one for a few years. Obviously, firefighters, without firefighters, we don't have personnel. And we talked to Sean briefly during the week here about, some possible ideas. One of the things obviously is, try to help them financially. I know it's a little tough right this minute because it's not budgeted yet or not, but it's one of the things I did ask Sean to look at and consider, at least for 2024, would be adding an improved retention line item to help support the company's activities. Unknown dollar amount, but obviously before that, you gotta have a plan, you gotta, basically before you spend the money, you gotta come up with a plan, whatever. If the district's gonna have a hand in, I was looking to form a district recruitment retention, 2 commissioners that can work as liaisons to the 2 companies. You can kind of work, how to support them back and forth and come up with some ideas and could be joint events, different things like that. But look at some different, recruitment strategies, social media, different events, district wide. Maybe some standardization of forms, a whole bunch of ideas out there. So I was thinking Rich and Chris, like them if they're willing to, if the board's willing to, as far as this retention group, But, pause first, I guess. Sir.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of things that we already have in place that could be, maybe they're already highlighting them, but, that could be highlighted. District has in place some of the insurance, benefits, the LoSAP, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's benefits, yeah.
There's already things that exist that won't even cost any additional monies, but we could explore new ideas too, so I think it's a great idea.
I guess.
The only comment, I've done some research on this, as Brian knows, met with a couple people, and we've been discussing it, and the point he makes is that you gotta spend money to make money, kind of thing. To recruit and retain properly, you gotta spend some money. And we recently, we threw some numbers together, shouldn't say through, we researched some stuff, put some numbers together. That the executive board were over in detail. And they could support some of it, but then it's just like, they don't have a line item that can support some of those things that we felt that we needed to do an effective retention campaign. Brian picked up on it, this is kind of swirled up to this level. Again, in that discussion that I had with David, that was one of the things that him and I had discussed, is that there was a need for a district-wide effort to recruit and retain firefighters. We don't seem to be doing a good job at that for whatever reason. Or I should say a good job. We don't seem to be doing it consistently. Goes in cycles, both sides of town, it seems to go cycles. So yeah, I fully support it. It's gonna be a lot of work, but it's not something that's gonna be free. It's like everything else we do, it's gonna cost us money.
The one thing, the other thing I was talking to Sean about, maybe like come June or July, where we see where we are financially. Maybe there is something, maybe we paid less gym memberships out this year. Maybe there's some, we can use the healthy companies this year short term. Because I know this is like kind of like a surprise. And I know financial people don't like surprises, but maybe see where we are financially come June, July.
Correct, yeah.
But then also that gives the committees time to come up with some kind of plan for the direction to go in. Then we can help potentially fund, and then down the road, maybe have an actual line item where we can help the companies, financially support it. Maybe Chris, have anything to add to that, or want to add, or?
No, man, we all know it's a problem. I think it's a great idea. I think we can go, a little farther than the fire companies, being that the tax incentives are out there now for homeowners. You might, prime example, I noticed Rich, after the fire, sharing the pictures on the neighborhood group. Anybody who would comment on it was actually one guy just come down fire police, and the guy said he can barely walk, but I mean.
Dave Phillips.
But
He's
I'm saying, but he, I think all of us, just besides these two, can, use our ability to social media, especially after we have big events that happen in the town, and, because a lot of the people praise our quick response and the fact that we show up and we do a good job, and, and that's, I think we should, at least, have the fire companies post a little more action shots. I know both fire companies do well, but sharing drills or sharing actual events that happen throughout the town. So I think if we just, share, seems like social media is the biggest way to move things around.
There's some strategies to go with that, and that's one of the things that you explored a little bit, discussed, and that, I don't want to go too far into it, but fire companies can't come across as being desperate for members. The expression that one of the consultants I talked to about it briefly used is if you go out there trying to sign up people to join the Titanic, they're not going to want to join. And that's the, so there's some strategies that we need to explore and discuss. It's like fundraising. It's like anything else we do. There's processes, and there's successful tactics, and there's unsuccessful tactics. More than that.
I guess Chris and Richard, you guys want to start on that?
Yeah.
I think that's also a resolution to create a committee.
Yeah, what do you want to do as far as the membership of the committee? Presidents or?
Well, the presidents, they already have committees in place. It's almost like we're just adding that layer in there. Companies do their thing.
Okay, so.
I mean, I know you may have.
Forming a district committee.
Right, but basically they have their committees.
On the municipal side, it's BJ is our TJ Fitzpatrick. He represents.
No, Danny's doing it now.
Danny's doing it now?
Dave Junior and Eric Chance, committee.
So they're
You got a 2-person committee?
So the idea is, the companies would, the way, at least I'm envisioning this is, we're here to support the company, so to speak. Say it is, comes down to funding, the district level support, the companies, I would go forward, it's up to the companies, we're going down from the school, like East from the school district, or you might be at the Valley Cats, stuff like that. Companies, almost like a strategic, think about military, like strategic, tactical, say firefighting. So it would be there to kind of support, work with,
I
but
think it's really more than you're just appointing two commissioners to serve as representatives on that company committee. It's almost like a standing committee assignment. I think you would just make the appointment. They would participate in their meetings and they would report back, right?
way to simplify it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really,
And then we'll come back to you if we got suggestions, ideas, or
Well, it'd be just like any other committee, it'd become a,
back to the board.
yeah, it'd become a normal report item right on here.
does they have recruitment or retention?
It's reasonable.
Do any resolution, I've never created a committee before, so I'm going to
Motion. Sure, motion. So
a motion to create.
I just happen to do things.
Motion made by Rich, second by Chris, all in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Excellent.
Can't wait to tell my wife. Department chiefs report, even month of the year, so we'll go Lionsville, Littlefield.
All right, can you guys hear me okay?
Sir.
So for purchases, we do have a purchase in there for portable radio batteries. Basically in some discussions with Mr. Durivage, what we're going to do is go with a non-Motorola brand battery. We're only going to purchase 10. What we're going to do with that 10 is disperse them amongst the chiefs in a testing phase. That way there we know that, we're getting something that's quality. It's not the brand name, but it's what we can use. Mr. Durivage talked to the vendor. I believe it's batteries something. Battery something there.
Yep.
But Mr. Durivage was very pleased with their customer service. They were knowledgeable on their products. There's a lot of public safety entities that have purchased these items and use these items every day. But my one concern is, when we're standing out in the middle of the road and we just need to say something on the radio, that's one thing. But when we're in an IDLH environment and we need to call the Mayday or we need to, relay some other information, that's a whole nother level. So essentially what we would do with these 10 batteries for the testing phase, distribute them to the chiefs so that the chiefs can use them, make sure they work right, make sure the radios work right, make sure there's no issues or concerns. Once we're satisfied with that, we would complete the rest of the purchase, which would bring Wine and Skills inventory back up to serviceable amounts, and then supplement to Freetsville for some of the batteries that they have.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Also, and Chief, I did talk to the county. We had spoken, I spoke to Rensselaer County, I spoke to one of the battalion coordinators. A lot of the departments in Rensselaer County, they're not buying the Motorola batteries, because they're all backordered. Rensselaer County is trying to buy 40 of them. They have a purchase order in for the same batteries we have since August, and they may get them in February. They are more expensive. They're not made in the United States. They're made in other countries, just like where these batteries would be made. And this company, Battery Universe, the battalion coordinator was pretty sure that this is the company that Rensselaer County bought Harris batteries from a while ago. So this is a very, good company to work with.
There's no issues like with the chargers, like the insurance something.
So everything is exactly compatible. Yes. I just wanted the chief didn't hear that from before.
I'm a little scared or a little curious how all of a sudden 40 were bad. Did something happen, or did we just reach an end of life cycle? What's going on?
A combination of both, really. So the difference between how Wynantskill and DeFreetzville treat their portable radios is on the Wynantskill side, every truck has the 6-bank charger with the radios in them, and they're in the charging cycle essentially at all times. The spares that we had from the county back when the radios were issued out, approximately 7, maybe even 8 years ago, they were all kept in the office and were going to be cycled in. But the problem is we went to put them into the charger and they're essentially dead, brand new in the box. So basically the issue we've run into is we have a bunch of batteries that were never used but can't be used. And then all the batteries that have been being used are coming to the end of their life. Basically, I spoke with Kosh over at Bearcom when the issue came about. And she said, if you got 7 years out of them and they've been in the charger all the time, that's pretty much what you're going to get.
My recollection of the batteries was when they were issued to us that they only had X number of times you could charge them, and then they were going to time out or something.
Right. That's the problem now is they start blinking red and green and they're done.
And if you know, if your procedure, as you just described it, is you go to a fire alarm activation at a, I don't know, Vanderheiden, and you take the officer takes the portable out, takes it with him, and then when he's done, he brings it back and throws it in the charger again. You achieve more of those times. Is that accurate?
I mean, I don't know offhand exactly how many times you can put it in the charger. I'm a user, not a technician, but basically the way Kosh explained it, if you've been using them for 7 years and now they're changing to that red and green flash, basically that's the death of the battery. And that's the way the charger tells you that they're dead. So
I guess my solution would be, don't put the radio in the charger until it needs a charge. You know, store it in a case and hang it somewhere, or, you know, I think we can look at this and maybe handle the batteries a little differently, and we'll get more of a life out of it. But, you know, we can discuss that more offline.
Yeah, I think we just ask Bearcom for a suggestion.
We can
What's the best way to-
discuss it more offline. I'll have a conversation with Mark, because I need to know how these batteries work. Because I distinctly remember it, because I had to deliver some of those classes, and there was, you got X number of charges, and then the battery said, see you. And if we're using them up in short bursts, then we're giving away batteries. So.
Well, the short term, we definitely need the batteries.
Yeah, I'm not arguing, we gotta buy the batteries.
Right.
If they're bad, they're bad, we gotta buy them. Let's see what we can do to extend the life of the ones we do get.
This would be amended for just the 10 instead of the 40. And there's also another request here for a fireplace jacket. Lieutenant Cooner.
yes,
Rat.
yes.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Rat.
Keep waving to us, Chief.
Is there any purchases? Just, I don't. Chief, did you have any purchases or just?
Make a resolution to put battery in a fireplace code.
By Rich, seconded by roll call.
Chris, Rich,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Dan,
I,
Sign that after. All right, anything else, Chief?
Let's see. So on February 20th, both departments are going over to Hudson Valley. We're going to do a walkthrough of the Haas Manufacturing Center, which is the newest building on the North Greenbush side of campus. So that'll be interesting. We haven't been in there yet. And then once we're complete there, we're going to move over to Williams Hall. So Williams Hall, a little bit of interesting note that goes on in there. They now have an electric vehicle lab, which basically consists of 7 electric cars all plugged in inside the building. So we actually found that during a fire alarm, walked around the corner and went, oh, what is this? So we've been in talks with representatives from public safety to kind of go through the process with public safety for responses and so on and so forth. And part of that process is taking a field trip to check out these 2 buildings. The one thing I did request from public safety is if they could have a curriculum representative available to us to kind of explain the daily operations, subject matter expert question and answer kind of things, so that our members are aware of what goes on in these facilities. I mean, obviously, during the day is one thing and at night's another, but more of a touch base, build the relationship up type of thing, but focusing on the North Greenbush end of the campus.
Nothing else, Jeffreysville, Chief Clue.
You guys got the calls from me on, just the note, we did have 3 structure fires from the last meeting, we had 2 in one day, and then we had the, fire the other night. Bruce did an excellent job all around. To touch on that, we did have a water supply issue, a water issue with the hydrants. We did have a district chiefs meeting last Thursday. We went over a bunch of issues. But that's one of the issues we're gonna have to address, because there's multiple hydrants that are still out of service, have been out of service for a while, so each department's gonna task out somebody, one of the assistant chiefs, they're gonna get a crew together, go through, make a list of hydrants and stuff that they have problems with. We never did get in, they never did say what the issue was. We were only getting 20 pounds off the hydrant on Lake Road. So we'll get a list of stuff together. We'll try to get a meeting with the water department. I don't know, Phil Miller tries to take the lead on that sometimes. So we'll get a list of stuff together. We'll try to touch base with them, because we're getting like misinformation through Bill. So I'd like to just sit down with the water department.
You want to talk to Keith Ankle?
Yeah,
He is in charge.
okay.
We told you that's the end of the line.
Yeah, we know. There's a bunch of other issues though, other than just that hydrant. So we'll get a list together, hopefully by next month, and then we can either do it on a chief's level or we can do it on a district level. See if we can get them fixed. Reprogramming of some radios for the North Greenbush PD in the town of Colony. We're setting up a meeting with the chief from Manans first before we do that. We did get an estimate for that for both sides. It'd be $2,500 to do all of our radios, mobiles, and portables. I just want to meet with Manans first to see exactly what they're thinking the need will be. I know they're going to a run through a lot now with a ladder. And then just talking to a few people from the town of Colony. Everybody's in the same boat with manpower. They're starting to pull people from everywhere. So after that meeting, we'll decide if we want to reprogram those radios, and we'll go from there. Rescue 9 is at Bulldog right now. There's a whole list of repairs that are getting done on it. One of them, we are getting the cab system flushed out, and there's a good chance we will not be using that anymore. The foam in it is just congealed up. It's a mess. So when we go to the district, or when we go to the battalion meeting, I'm going to try to get clarification on what the foam use status is now. Because in the past, they were telling us we can't use foam unless it's life or death. So we'll try to get that information at the battalion meeting. Brush 9 is also going to be out for repairs tomorrow. We found a used steering shaft that they're going to take some of the parts off of. The parts are a little worn on Brush 9 now. It's not a safety issue. We were able to locate a used steering shaft for it. We cannot find a new one. So Farrah's going to take care of that for us. Bob did bring up the letter we got from the county about dispatching changes. We discussed that at the district chiefs meeting the other night. I discussed it with Chairman McRae. We'll try to get a letter together from the district. We definitely are not supporting it. What they're looking to do is any mutual aid, they're going to dispatch the home department. We don't know if that's going to affect the Freesville Wine and Skill. And then they'll dispatch the mutual aid departments. A couple of the problems we see with that is we have problems with radio traffic now. So we go to call on roof, they're gonna be dispatching the other departments. It's gonna be, we're thinking it's gonna be a big problem. We'll discuss it at the battalion meeting, and then, we'll see if we can get something together from the district. And, this was supposed to be fixed with the new CAD system 3 times ago. But it hasn't been fixed yet. So we'll get more information on that. I've talked to Chairman McRae. We'll try to get something together for the district. The last and not least, but at our district meeting, I know we brought up last year about consolidated chiefs. Has there been any movement on that on the district end?
That's a little bit further down our agenda. We
Okay.
discuss that here under paramedic operations.
I mean, just if we're thinking we're doing it, we just, let's sit down and get our stuff hammered out and make sure we're good.
No, I had some talks of the battalion chief about this whole dispatch thing. The county can't dispatch both the cars, but it sounds like from talking to him, talking to the deputy director, or I think that's the proper title for their new deputy director. Yeah. That they can program a button where they'll dispatch to Freesville Lions. Downside is it's for everything. So it's pretty much an all or nothing type of deal. So the way we propose it right now is if say it was a fire alarm at Vanderheiden or a structure fire, whatever, Lionsville. Then when they get around to go over to the binders and start figuring out who else goes, then it'll be like a delay as far as everybody else getting dispatched along with it, vice versa. So the way they're looking at it is it's an all or nothing thing for us. Car, whatever it is 24/7, 365. So there's just some concerns there. I don't know how it's being explained or communicated through different people, but we get into some of the comments that were given back to me in this forum, but they were not very conducive to diplomacy from the county side of it.
It's only supposed to be temporary until they get the new CAD in, but this is the same issues we had with the last 3 CAD systems.
Right.
So, that's all I have.
All right, and we'll get into the topic farther down here. Okay, standing committee reports, Everest Code, Rich next.
Yeah, we had our first truck committee meeting for truck 4-2. Looking over the notes now. Adam did a good job typing up the minutes for us. He's handling secretary duties of us. So we met back on the 31st. There were five of us there. 5 or 6 of us, 5 of us there, I guess. First thing we did was with the committee members that weren't familiar with it, make sure everybody was familiar with it. We went over some of the financial stuff that had kind of brought us to that point. We know the long range plan, the finance plan, all that information that had been shared at the district level, we brought down to the committee. Gave the perspective timeline based on the long range plan, and kind of put that in perspective of, okay, if we're going to buy at 29, when do we have to have spec ready, when do we have to go to bid? And we essentially came up with, we need to be ready to go to bid sometime mid to late next year, I believe it is. Which puts us on actually a faster track than I thought it was going to be to do. But then there's going to be a lull, because you order this thing and it's years out. I saw in the paper the other day that City of Schenectady just ordered a ladder truck that they expect to get in 3 years. So there's this lull, which is great. But anyway, we went over that. Over the finances I mentioned. We talked a little bit about resale of the old one and kind of became an agreement of that there's no reliable, we're not gonna make the same mistake we made with the engines and say, oh yeah, we got thousands of dollars worth of engines out there. If we get money for it, great. If we don't, accept it. That's what we are with it. Talk a little bit about some of the growth of the town, what's here already, building heights. And that was really a discussion that started was theoretically, we're really another 100 footer. And we talked about the 5-story hotel going in. We know that there's going to be Quackenbury Commons project going on. Some of the stuff Regeneron's doing, what Regeneron has actually came from map info, but there was a tentative plan and there was a tentative plan approved that they were gonna take that, where they went into map info, they were gonna bump that up, they were gonna do 15-story tower next to the tower they got. If that ever happens, I don't,
Yeah.
I might be along the grave, I don't know if that ever happens, but we talked about, some requirements for reach at the ISF building. And then there's some, in general, some of the retail that we're seeing, develop. So we didn't come to any conclusion, we just threw it out there and discussed it, had a good discussion on it. Talked about, the potential vendors, started to list out some that are, back, or they're in the area. We mentioned that, I don't think that, it's good to see that, start to see, both, E1 and Seagrave actively bidding on truck bids and vehicle bids in the area, where when we put the engines, neither of them really had a presence. So that's gonna increase the competition, if nothing else. And then we went over some of the basic, Adam found the prints and the binders that went along with the old truck 4.2, and we're gonna keep them handy with us as we continue to work. We went over some of the current specs that, the existing truck 4.2 was built to. And some of the things they like about it, some of the things that aren't liked about it, some of the things that, we could change. So, nothing formal, coming out of the meeting, except that we're tentatively scheduled to meet on the 29th at 7 p.m. We're gonna be back at it on Thursday, the 29th.
That's open to everybody.
It's open to everybody, yeah. It's open, but
Make sure it's.
should have discussions.
Just Rich had a good meeting and we got a lot of production done with it, so.
Awesome. Building grounds.
Mr. Chairman, on that committee, any committee notes, can they be forwarded in to us so that we can get them put in Dropbox? Okay, if you could do that, then that way we'll keep a record from the district end. We can throw it in Dropbox.
Building grounds, Chris. Oh, the water, yeah. Over the past several years, we've been getting a lot of repair calls, basically the boilers over here. I'm not gonna get into technical terms, that's probably more Bob's forte, but suffice to say, talking to Johnson Control, and I'm mistaken, is the company that does repairs here. There's issues with the water, where it gets in there and corrodes and creates all kinds of issues inside of the boilers, and constantly causing repairs. So Bob, if you want to jump in on as far as the water treatment part of this, and what their proposal is to help cut down on repair costs.
Yeah, and I'll also defer to Nick because he's got some expertise in this area, but I mean, knock on wood, the boiler system has been going pretty well so far, but that's because we've been staying on it. We've had to replace a few sensors here and there. Those sensors are like $300-400. However, one of those pumps is more like $3,200. And just from the report that we received, as far as the corrosive and acidic levels in there, I mean, Johnson Controls and the folks at Barclay Water are telling us you're going to start losing pumps. And because it will literally eat the pumps right up. It'll eat the seals up. It'll eat components of those pumps up to the point where it could take a whole pump out of service. We were told this early on. We kind of just sort of like not let it go, but we were just like, oh, it's not that bad. Well, Johnson said, we work with Barclay. Let's get him in here and test it. And Nick, maybe you might be able to also add some light to this because I know we talked about this.
I mean, the way the boilers are built, they're kind of like an aluminum heat exchanger in there. Everything's tiny and small. And what I've seen through the years of working in the field is that the city water, with all the treatments they add to it, once you heat it up, is terrible for everything. You start seeing, if you look at your hot water heater, you can start seeing leaks just on solder joints, from 2H. So what happens is, the water gets put in, doesn't ever get tested, moves around, heats up, goes through the cycle a million times. and nobody ever treats it, and like Bob says, the sensors start going bad and the other stuff, so. These guys will put up basically, this little, it's like a bag, it's like a filter, you know, it's the easiest way to put it. And the water will filter through that, and we'll get any of the little sediments and any of that, and we'll test it and add chemicals if need be cleaner. Just try to save the life of the impeller on the pump and the boiler itself. Because unfortunately, just the time of, nothing's built to last.
Yeah, each one of those boilers, and there are obviously two boilers, one's works as a backup slave. I mean, those boilers are probably about $20,000 a boiler. And anything you can do to extend the life of those boilers, you want to do that, because I mean, that will eat those tubes inside that boiler apart, as I'm told by Johnson and by Barclay. Like, it could do it in a matter of 3-4 years. And he said, I mean, you saw the findings. Now, I wouldn't ask you to take action tonight on this. I wanted you to see this, and then I could work with Nick a little bit closer. I explained to them about getting on some type of a maintenance plan that they could save us some money, as opposed to just calling them up and getting them in here once or twice a year. So we might be able to even massage what they're proposing right now. I don't know too much about how often testing or, you know, putting stuff into the system needs to be done on this. And I'd rather get more information so that we could come back and then provide you maybe with a little bit more better reasoning as to why we want to go in one direction or the other. And I can use Nick and others as a resource. But it's something that if we don't do it, it's pay me now, pay me later, and pay me later is going to be pretty expensive.
$3,800 a year is expensive too, but it's not expensive for a truck. I get that. Can you ask them, I'm looking over this water analysis they provided that you got Dropbox. It reminds me of so many of the medical reports I've looked at. They give us a list of, 15 constituents that they tested for on the water, and they give us a number that they came up with. Can you ask them to add next to it normal, what normal would be?
Yeah.
Because, they're telling me total hardness as CaCO3 MgL is 74.1. Well, is that high, low? Is that, is that in range? Is that out of range? We have no way of measuring and knowing. And not that we, but it's nice to know how bad we are.
Just looking at it, the only thing I really off the top of my head know is the pH is pretty decent at 3.4.
That's decent?
That's decent.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. You see high 7s, 8s, that's very acidic, and, that's not good at all, so.
Yeah, but that's a factor of what was the last time we added water to the system?
Yep. It's last time it's drained down,
Right.
Flushed or anything, that any work that's been done to the boilers, you're gonna drain something and add back in, so.
Yeah, this is not like your hot water at home that comes in, gets heated, goes out the tap or out the shower. This is water that keeps moving.
I say, if you want to work with.
Yep.
Make anybody else interested, I know what all this stuff means.
Do they travel from Massachusetts to come do the work?
They have people right in the area.
All right, I just see the addresses are all Massachusetts.
Yeah, they do a ton of service work right in this area in Albany. They're constantly here, and they work very closely with Johnson Controls. I mean, I don't know a lot about this company, so it's something we can also do a little check. No,
There's no boilers.
no, there's no boiler, right?
Yeah, we'll group that.
So I had something else, district personnel, Dan. So,
Just something very minor. We got a very nice email from Tommy acknowledging the 2% salary increase. That's all I've got. She takes the time to do that every year.
That's good, it's nice. Right, good practice. Finance insurance audit, Dan, Nick.
I do not, unless you want to say.
I don't, Sean touched on the audit.
Just, yeah, the auditors were here this week or last week, so.
Long range planning, myself, Nick. I know this is not developer review. I kind of wanted to forward it. Not in the one, probably be more pharmatic operations, but that's when, you know, one of the things we did talk about was, you know, reducing cheese. So that's something I kind of think about over the past month. So I found long range planning a little bit last one, but now it's more operations. Policies and procedure memberships, a few things here. One cell phone stipend, Dan, if you want to speak to that one.
Sure. Handling the cell phone for, well, back to my days as a captain at DFD. Right now, if you are a paid staff member, a commissioner, or a chief, the district provides a cell phone for you. It was originally, if you wanted the district cell phone, you had to be on the fire district plan. The fire district would provide whatever phone was free under state contract. If you wanted anything, you know, more expensive than that, the individual had to pay for it. The district also paid for a case and the insurance. As cell phone plans have changed, that's become more challenging for people to leave their home plan, jump on the district plan. So we started offering a reimbursement, which several people take advantage of that. However, as the cell phone plans evolve, it's not as black and white where every single line is this price. There's all these wheeling and dealing out there, and all right, this one's free and that one's this, and it's very can be confusing, and then you got to submit all this. So, in consultation with Terry, we thought it might be cleaner if someone is going to elect to stay on their home plan to just do a flat rate stipend of $40 a month, which is essentially the amount we'll reimburse up to now. And then the district can still the district would still provide for the insurance or the care plan for the device. However, things like cases and stuff like that, that would be on the individual. So essentially I'll use, I think Richard was used an example. You get reimbursed, right? All right, who gets reimbursed? Shane gets reimbursed. So, his cell phone bill that he submits, I don't know it off the top of my head, but it might show $25. It might show $45. His wife's, it's just confusing. He would just submit proof that he has a working cell phone. He gets reimbursed $40 a month at the end of the year, or $80. We expect the chief to have a cell phone. We don't want it to break. If it breaks, we're responsible. So we're like, hey, if you want Apple Care, you want insurance, we'll reimburse for that as well. He wants to go out and get a $100 OtterBox case, well, that's on him. So it just kind of simplifies it.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has anything to offer on that. Terry, Bob?
Makes it easier.
That's about what we would pay if we're paying for their line anyway. So.
Correct. So,
And then for budgetary purposes, I think it'll Sean, it's one set amount, you just know it and you're done with it.
so I mean, the change is highlighted in yellow there. I think you can vote on this now if you want.
Okay, with
So,
that.
I'll
No discussion.
make the resolution.
Well, resolution made by Dan to go to that $4 stipend, second by Nick, all a roll call. Dan.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Brian. Aye.
Rich. Chris.
Carries. Second item on here is standardizing of driver policies, interior and officer qualification. Basically, a few years ago, we created one standard officer qualification as far as, to be a lieutenant, to be a captain, chief, so on and so forth. As for some feedback, how it's working, feedback, but as we move forward, more and more rural district, it's getting there. And, we have, I don't necessarily we have different standards, we have standards, but I'd like to look at, basically looking to standardize driver training / operating policy district-wide, so we're all being trained at the same level. Rich, you can talk about OSHA stuff, we really have to get into it, but I don't have to, but there's a lot of new rules, regulations getting ready to come out from OSHA and other things. So make sure our drivers are being trained the same way, the same rules are in place. So God forbid something happens, we can say, here's our policy. And the other thing that's like, just talking to different, chiefs and just knowing, I don't know if we're doing the same thing consistently, making interior firefighter. I'm not sure what the Winesville policy is to give a red tag. I got an idea what their Freesel's policy is. Just want to start looking at, with the chiefs, obviously with their input, and creating a interior firefighter policy. Here's what you do to get your red tag. Here's what you do to be a driver operator. Just kind of standardize the two. So we just have one consistent policy district-wide. Not sure if we need a motion on that, but just like start, getting some feedback from chiefs and start working on something here. As far as just, like I said, standardizing stuff.
It makes sense in that in a lot of these areas, we have district SOPs. All right, district policy and district procedures that are taken to the next level in two different directions in two different ways. And sometimes that's confusing and problematic as it comes back to the board with different issues that rise, and we have to make decisions on things. And the more that we standardize some of this stuff, I think it puts us in a better position. It's difficult to make change and standardize, and in a compromise, everybody gives up something. So nobody wins, because with a compromise, everybody's giving something away. Everybody feels that the walk away from compromise is a loss. But in the end, I think it will make us stronger and better. But there's things I think we need to look at as far as how we do business. And I think it gets a little cliche, but I've said it a million times, we got to stop operating as two fire departments that happen to have the same board of fire commissioners.
And also, I don't think it's not so much of a compromise as it is, there's a standard out there in New York State, right? And we as a district, the two departments, regardless of how we've been doing things, need to meet this sort of standard. And it's more for us and firefighters.
I'm going to talk more about that in the OSHA stuff. I can expand on it a little bit here. They're with with the OSHA regs, you're going to see another push, I think, I believe, I'm seeing it already, at the best practices that New York has out there. And they're going to have to be updated, all right? But there's a lot of things in the best practices that we could look at and say, yeah, well, we're kind of doing that, but we can't be kidding ourselves anymore. We're either doing it or we're not. And I think some of those stuff we have to look at and say, we need to do a better job. And I had a discussion today with Bob, and Chief Littlefield was in the room about, some things we can do as far as some training curriculum. And that way that we have some curriculum here that when someone gets assigned to teach a drill, they've got some standardized curriculum that they can go to and develop their drill based on standardized curriculum. That way, when somebody comes in and asks us 2 years from now or 3 years from now, after somebody gets hurt and said, some inspector comes in and says, well, how are you teaching your drills? We can say, we're teaching your drills based on curriculum and the JPRs. We're looking at the job performance requirements for firefighter 1. We're teaching people how to throw ladders. We're looking at the job performance requirements for firefighter 1. We're teaching people how to go out on the ice and rescue. The job performance required for firefighters in the ice and water rescue standard. And that way we could say with good conscience that we're using the most modern training aids and training materials available. And in addition to just looking good for an inspector, it's going to give us a better quality firefighter. All right, and it's going to give more confidence to the people that are expected to teach these drills, because they're going to have curriculum. They're going to have lesson plans. They're going to have student manuals or student materials. They're going to have visuals. It's going to be a class that they're going to be using some PowerPoint. But even if it's an outdoor class, they're going to have lesson plans this is how I should be covered. These are some of the safety things I should be covered. So it's all gonna be there. So, this is gonna be a long process. But we do need to move in that direction. So.
I think short term, I think you and I are on this group here on, maybe just get some feedback from the chiefs as far as what they do for interior and sort of organize driver training and start kind of moving the two. Maybe you also think took over a year for us to do, so it's not some short, this isn't like a, we're done in March. It's, we gotta really look at stuff, but it's fun to get it out there.
Chairman, I think you gotta be careful not to pick on your choice of words. It's not compromise. It's what's the best way to do this.
That's what I was saying. It's not compromise. It's more, there's a way to do it.
Yeah, and even if you lost the standards, I mean, you really, this is part of the evolution of your fire district. It's, and if you don't beat yourselves up for not having done it to this point, you've matured in a lot of areas over the last, how long has it been, Dan? 2 years almost? And you made phenomenal progress from places I've seen around. You're still the one they hold up to say this is how you expand the fire. So, but don't beat yourself up, and there is work, but I think, if you can get everybody kind of lined up, hey, this is the way to do it. You know what? Neither one of us did it this way. This is how we get.
Thank you. Number 3 on here, it looks like an amendment to SOG 904 sex harassment revision. If I'm not mistaken, I was told right now we don't reference annual training in our.
Correct.
So there's a modification there that, I know the departments do it. We do sex harassment workplace violence yearly and annual. So it's almost like it's basically amending SOG 904 to state that we shall do it annually.
Yeah, and I haven't talked to Bob about this yet. This is going to be a kind of a temporary patch. I was looking at that tonight, and I apologize. We've got some more work we have to do. Just bring that up to the standard, so to speak. So there'll be some revisions to the policy beyond, but I think your policy should state that it provides for annual refresher training. Just as
We thank the previous governor for that.
yeah, he championed that. I don't know that he ever attended it.
Right.
But you have training when people come in, and then you have annual refresher. It does not have to be the same thing. It's not a set duration. But there are some requirements that part of that. Basically, we got to review with the individuals annually your policy. So this stuff was tweaked earlier in the spring, or sorry, about a year ago this time. So we got some refinements to make to the overall policy, but including the annual refresher training in that is a good first step.
State employees on the same point, state employees now, with everything, ethics to employment opportunities to, gender identification and, I can't even think of the proper full name of that. Are these requirements that are trickling into our area?
Yes, well, what happened, essentially sexual harassment was expanded to include other forms of harassment, which of course went to the, every outlier individual you could ever encounter, it comes down to just be nice to people. Okay, that's really what the message is, but the state has to do all this other crazy stuff. But yeah, there are, the sexual harassment policy was modified in April of 2023. Your policy doesn't quite match that. Mr. Durivage and I will do some work over the next month and have a spanking clean, brand new policy for it.
I'm just concerned that these requirements keep piling up, and the requirements for various classes keep getting added on. How many drill nights a year are we gonna have to give up to cover some of this stuff?
Well, again, the priority has to be when somebody starts. That may be an hour-long program. Annually, it doesn't have to be. You can kind of hit the high points. Here's the policy. This was expanded to cover this. It now covers not just sexual harassment, covers all kinds of harassment. So you use
The refresher doesn't have to be class all over.
exactly.
Okay, good.
So we do have proposed change on page boards in your Dropbox.
So we need to approve it.
Moved by Rich, second by Chris, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. That's gonna be membership. We do have 3 applications here. Did everybody get a chance to review them? All right, motion to approve.
So you gotta prove the one guy, he won the Super Bowl. You gotta get something out of him.
So we got motion by Rich, second by Nick, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion carries. We'll sign that paperwork after. Congratulations to the 3 new members. LoSAP, Nick, myself, Chief President.
It's that time of the year, let's do the annual LoSAP review. Did you email all those forms out, Sean? All the paperwork for LoSAP. Didn't send them to you,
They didn't send them to me, no.
I'll forward them to you.
Oh, okay.
And
I can't even access the website. I was trying to get to it this week from
yeah, she
VFIS.
sent me all the stuff
Oh,
week ago.
Okay.
I figured you saw it.
yeah, usually I go onto the website and pull up the census and
Yeah, she sent me all the stuff.
couldn't get to it. I didn't notice that until Friday when I was working with the auditors. So.
I'll just send it to Sean so he can send it out to the chiefs and stuff, so you can start doing your census and we can have our end of the month, meeting if anybody needs me to go over anything, and that's it.
Excellent. Business operations and technology. Dan, will you sponsors here? So
Yeah, so right now the Chiefs have a non-cellular iPad assigned to them. They've got them mounted in the vehicle. And they can connect to the internet via the hotspot on the phone, on their cell phone that we provide. A little history going back to when Jimmy Burke was chief and Ray Swart was chief, we did provide them with cellular iPads. But looking at the bills that we just weren't really using the data, so we're kind of paying for a lot of data we didn't use. However, we now have IM responding, they've got hydrants in there. There's a lot of features, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Shane, IM responding that we're really not taking full advantage of. I had the opportunity, I was helping Greg kind of with the hotspot. There really is a delay connecting. So I think it would be a good time to purchase the cellular iPads for the chiefs to be in the vehicles. The existing iPads would not be a waste because we're transitioning to the apparatus inspection program where you can do it on the iPad. You look in Dropbox, Bob researched this somewhat, not somewhat, he did research it. The purchase of the devices would be $21.54. We need the cases, bringing the equipment cost to $25.44. Verizon offers a couple options, an unlimited plan at $39.99 a month, which is what we used to pay for Ray and Jimmy Burke, or this pay per tablet, which is what we use for the apparatus ones. It's $10 a tablet. It's a shared plan. If we're going to move forward with this, my recommendation is we start with a lower price data option, and then we kind of evaluate, where we're at. And if it turns out it's more cost effective to bump it up based on the data usage. But I think, it's a different day and age than it was, 10 years ago. And just seeing how they're attempting to use them now. And I think there's other things you could do too with, whether it be Dropbox or Google Drive, other documents that they kind of want at their fingertips, they could access. And it's something that we've been talking about for a while. I just think this is the time to pull the trigger. So I don't know if Bob or Shane or Adam online have anything that you want to add to that.
Yeah, just to touch base, we're trying to hook up the hotspot while you're trying to respond to the call. It's very difficult because it doesn't always hook up. There's so many things that we're putting into the iPads now. I'm responding, click on the building, gives you all the hazards for the building, gives you anything you need. documents that we use for whatever, contacting the town, the county, box alarms, I mean, they're all there. So it's being used, like when Bert and Schwartz were there, I mean, that was a different time.
Right.
But today's age, I mean, there's so much stuff you can use, I mean, the education app, you're looking at every vehicle you roll up on, you know, you're figuring out, hey, this electric vehicle, where's the batteries, where's the disconnects? There's just a ton of stuff that we could be using.
You know, the other piece, you know, even if the hotspot connected perfectly. Chief is the incident commander, and he leaves the command station, you know, the command post.
Yeah.
And you've got somebody else assisting using the iPad, and he gets a certain distance away. Well, there goes your internet on the iPad. It's not gonna function until you get within.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge is hooking up to it while you're trying to respond. You're sitting there, you're trying to get hooked up to it. Yeah, they say it hooks up perfect every time, but it don't. And you guys all know I'm trying to go to switching cars. It doesn't hook up.
So is this a 10 gig plan for all 6 of them, or 10 each and they share it?
It's the 10 gig shared with the devices, but Bob has the ability to kind of monitor it during the month, and if it looks like, hey, we're gonna go over the 10, he can kind of click up to the next.
That was my question, so what are the penalties if we exceed?
Right, and then I think if we're constantly exceeding and it turns out, hey, it's cheaper to just do the $40, or maybe to find, all right, car one is using his a lot more, maybe we put that one at $40 a month, but car 3 isn't, maybe you keep that on the shared, you can kind of, I think there's gotta be a period of time.
Especially if we can monitor as we go, we probably won't get hit with a, $100 penalty.
Because I asked Bob the same question, I just, once you go over, are we gonna be?
Yeah, that's where they make their money.
Right, or if, they turn the vehicle off and the iPad stays on and the data's running, is it gonna trip? We're gonna know that pretty quick. So I think you start with that 14, 13. Worst case scenario, you bump to that 2880, which is a big jump, but I don't think that's gonna be necessary.
They said this was Verizon's first net an option, because I know the phones with the first net. Are you?
Yeah, Bob did look into that. Verizon is at this point the cheapest
They got the best,
option.
$10 per tablet plan with the shared option. It's really the best way to go right now.
First net.
With the hazards that are out there now, the hazards that are increasing in this job, if these guys need up to the minute information on, things like.
And I was
batteries and-
playing around with, when I was trying to help Greg out, I kind of got playing around. It's pretty impressive. I mean, what they can do on there is we're really underutilizing. I think I am responding because of the, the limitations here. So, I did have the chance to speak with Shane beforehand. And I think this is, something all the chiefs could find valuable.
I guess the important part is Sean.
My only hope and request is that, the budgeting process, this is part of the budgeting process. That if we're going to explore new opportunities like that, that we could, this just came about, this is new, which is fine. But now the retention, these weren't the retention committee funds, these weren't things that we necessarily budgeted for. So, although I think both of them were really great, worthy clauses, I just wish I had known more about them earlier so we could, not that we really had much that we could realign, but just also we should all keep in mind that we're really trying to fill this, long-term apparatus replacement plan and so forth. And part of the hope from that is, remember we used to save like $100,000 a year and we used to be able to tuck that away. This year, we're gonna break even. Not gonna be anything left to tuck away, especially now with these, Vandermolen invoices, so. That would be my only.
I mean, the other thing we could do, I think this would be the first option, is just do all 6 at once. But, if the chiefs wanna now, but have a conversation with their assistant chiefs, like, do you think this is something you're gonna utilize on a regular basis? So then I'm not really sure, all right, maybe we get 4 an hour, you know, you kind of just buy what you need. And we want to add the other one. Later. So I think if we approve this tonight, it would be up to 6 and up to, the data for 6. But before we just instantly go out and buy them, I do think it's worthwhile them having a conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we just place the, I don't think they need to, we don't need to wait until next month.
And luckily, we do have like a computer line item, and in that, a couple years ago, we were able to fit in like a copy of upgrades to software and so forth. So I mean, I think it's something that could be manageable as long as something else doesn't.
And our cell phone costs, I think, over the years has
Oh, yeah,
declined significantly.
yeah.
And in theory, sorry.
They used to be around $80 a month per.
Oh, yeah.
line. Now we're at essentially 40.
Yeah, a couple hundred now. It
Yeah.
used to be $600-700.
In theory, we end up going to reduce the number of chiefs, those 2 iPads, theory. You go to the 2 apparatus that don't have iPads. I know we plan on doing that at some point down the road. So you got one before.
And on a couple of those,
A resolution?
Oh, you just got more to add. No, we're done.
trying to remember, it's different with Verizon or FirstNet. Some of the cell phone plans we're paying extra for a hotspot, like $5 a month. So really you could drop that. It's the reason we're paying for the hotspot. It's for that, so that would reduce.
The Verizon, we're paying extra for the hotspot. The FirstNet, it comes with it.
So we might say $5.
Yeah,
a month
$5.
So I guess I'll make the resolution.
Made by Dan, I'll say by Chris, sorry, Chris first. Roll call.
Chris. Aye. Rich. Aye. Brian.
Aye.
Nick. Aye. Dan.
Aye.
Anything else with business operation technology, we're almost there.
I don't have anything else.
Thank you. And, a development plan review, just keep this pretty short, but, we did go to the planning board meeting about the hotel, basically they're looking to add a 5th story to the hotel, which is already pre-approved. We did give feedback on the site plan, but it was 100% requested, pointing out that the roads are too narrow. It's going to increase the occupancy to hold 7 people by on the 5th floor. There's some questions from the planning board, for banquets and stuff. They said absolutely not. One planning board member was basically like, well, don't all hotels host banquets and meetings? So it's not to the public comment period yet. We did meet with Bill Miller and Buccaneer Commons developer. We met down here back on January 19th. The highlights of it is it's going to be smoke free. It's not really a 2-story underground parking garage. It's more of a split level parking garage. So it would dead end. So you have two different entrances, 2 different levels, but they're not one on top of the other. No EV charging inside the building. To be all electric, which ties into another project which started in this battery storage thing. I was just throwing in front of us the other day. I'll forward you a copy of that, those plans there. He claims it's gonna be no smoking and he's gonna do whatever he needs for it. Right now, he had 1 hydrant per site. It's not acceptable, so he was totally open to adding more hydrants to the site plan. They look to have decent access around the building. The Route 4 corridor meeting, it's really just a concept and we're close to a real plan as far as this Route 4 widening and all the traffic circles. It really only addresses Route 43 south. It has nothing to do, several comments were brought in about, what about north of 43? It's like, that's not part of their study. Several traffic circles, some bypass roads, which would take you off exit 8 and cut through. What was pointed out to them would be Buccaneer Commons, so we would revise some things just to can't drive through a building or roads, but it falls back onto the towns, basically, they can get grants and funding for it. So that's really conceptual, only this time it's nowhere near any build plan. And we did receive plans for a battery storage system, which would be on the opposite of Stonegate. So where Stonegate ends, some guy, I forget the number now. So 400 megawatt, I think it is, battery storage system. It's kind of a nice National Grid project. It's huge.
These have been popping up across New York State. I know I can speak from the state side. We've already had 3 fires in them. 2 were like extended incidents, long hazmat type scenes. So more to follow on that. And we did have informal follow-up with the town about Stonegate Commons, 6,000 Stone Gates under construction. We had some access issues. I was assured that because it's still under construction, those issues will be cleared by the time it's occupied, but I did point out code sections that they should follow. We'll see. So stand by now. That's all I have for development. Chiefs, got anything?
No, I don't have.
Chief Littlefield, if you're still there, I don't know if you have any comments on the Twin Town. That's what I'm calling. There's a whole bunch of buildings, houses going behind Twin Town Little League.
No, I'm good with that because it's going to cut down the noise from my house, so I won't have to listen to all the sporting events.
Are you starting with them?
No, we looked at it the night we were here at the ladder, the truck company committee. We didn't see nothing concerning. Second time they've been submitted to us, so.
Yeah, I think there were just some modifications to the drainage or something.
Yeah,
So
it was really nothing.
it's going in front of the planning board either next month or the month after. Yes, for all presentation. Firematic operations, as you see from the note there, we talked about it last month. We had the meeting with Sean, the chiefs and stuff, and we're kind of the long-term budget and stuff. And I want to get the conversation going on people's thoughts about going down to 4 chiefs from 6. And if we do, I guess when. The Tahoes are coming up on 11 years, I believe, they're 13s. And then, we should really start kind of having a plan, because I know Sean has to plan for the budget stuff. And we'll hopefully get some feedback from people this month.
I know this is a tough discussion, and it's been a discussion we've had a few times, and it's, even with the long range plan and, the money's just that tight, doing business. And I hate that, and I've had conversation with some of the, guys outside of the table here, and it's, I don't want to push nobody out of a position that they've worked their way to and earned. But, I'm a strong believer, if you break the numbers down, I think, 6 chiefs is a little aggressive for this town and for what's going on. I think a lot of the captains, the officers, we could put them back in the firehouse and, help with things. Yet, are they keeping the apparatus off the floor? I think so. They stopping the $1 million of fire truck going down the road and getting an accident. Yeah. But also there are times when there's, I know everybody works and schedules don't line up, that there's, there's no chiefs on the street. So, and like I said, I'm not trying to hold it against anybody. I think we just got to look at the finances and, with a big purchase of a ladder truck coming up, there's a purchase of a rescue behind that, and there's a purchase of a, another engine, almost back to back to back. So I think we got to see where we can save money. And fortunately, I think, we're not talking about a lot of money, but we also want to do refurbs on 2 trucks, Rescue 4.2 and 9.6. So we sit here and, say there's no money tree out in the backyard here. So we're trying to figure out where we can, save money. Like I said, unfortunately, this is something that's been a long discussion here. And I think, I'm in favor of it. That's where I stand on it.
I see the need, but I'm not convinced of the need. I look at the list of duties that the chiefs have, and I think that, all 6 chiefs seem to have a pretty substantial list. All 6 chiefs seem to have pretty full plates. How do you take that back to some captains? Well, you probably got to give the captains a little less apparatus responsibility, or a little more overall apparatus responsibility, a little less, on the truck, responsibility, on the vehicle responsibility. You give, so, I mean, is it workable? Yes, probably is workable. Is it gonna hurt? Probably gonna hurt a lot. There's gonna be a lot of noses bent out of shape, a lot of people are gonna take it personally. I'm still not convinced on it, although 6 chiefs in a town of roughly 12,000 is probably a high number. So, not convinced. I'm getting there, but I'm not convinced.
Chris, I know it's,
Yeah, I'll just share, I know it's water under the bridge, but I tried to engage the board and the chiefs in a meaningful conversation about this about 4 years ago. When Brian and Ed McMahon both announced their retirement, I thought that would be a good time to at least have the discussion. You've got two chiefs getting out. Nobody has to get, well, pushed out. And, I got very little support to have the discussion. I think rather than just making a decision like this, what I was asking to occur at the time is really do a needs analysis. And I had asked the chiefs at the time, could you present what the structure is now? Like, I know we kind of have that on this side, all right, car 1 does this, car 2 does this, car 3 does this. You get that for wine and skill, how it's in place now. And then I had asked at the time, what might it look like with 5 chiefs? If you have 1 district chief and 2 assistant chiefs, and let's also look, what would it look like with 4 chiefs? But I'd kind of like to see those 3 proposals, what that's gonna look like operationally with 6, 5, 4, and cost savings, because I think you gotta look just beyond the money. Obviously, the money's an issue, but at the end of the day, we need to run an efficient and safe fire district. So I just think we would be able to make a more educated decision if we had a little bit more clear vision on what it might look like under this, or if you don't want to consider 5, then we don't, but something black and white, like, hey, if we do this, this is what it's gonna look like, this is, how it names out of it, yeah, and this is the savings. But, not just look at it from a money point, and that might.
right, I wasn't thinking just money, I'm thinking operation.
I agree with you.
Part of consolidation, I think Wesco always ran with just 2 chiefs.
Correct, they did.
The longest
Yeah.
time, and when we consolidated, they went to 3, right, they had 3 here, so. I
Yeah.
had more culture shock here.
Yeah, no, so I think it's worth having an intelligent conversation about. I don't know that it's anything we can make a decision here tonight, but I would feel more comfortable.
Maybe for like next month is, so, I mean, we had the duties.
Yeah.
Because Adam did some.
But how might you divvy it up,
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you want to make an informed decision, but also you don't want to drag it out for, I don't say long time, but yeah, I know he's kind of planning, getting his planning.
The
So
other thing is, we can always change back. It's not set in stone,
no, but I think, right. Probably easier to consider once than
I mean,
like.
the reason we added the 3rd chief over Lionsville, we were trying to make this merger work. DeFreeseville at one point had 4 chiefs, just for DeFreeseville, we had cars 1 through 4. And then we eliminated probably, I don't know, 20 plus years ago, the car 4 position. And then when we went to do the merger, it was just easier and I guess less confrontational to add a position than it was to eliminate.
You remember at the time, discussions with some of the guys across town. We don't need a 3rd chief, this is BS and whatever. And they obviously grown comfortable with it. And some of those guys aren't around anymore that were saying that kind of thing. But it is partially just a change from what you've grown comfortable with.
I guess some of this, so Rich and Chris, maybe over the next couple of weeks, start working on some of the 2 chiefs. As far as just getting this.
My time is gonna be real tight with everything else I got going.
I have faith in you. I heard you're not doing a safety class now, so.
Yeah,
At least, get the ball rolling. We're gonna talk to Sean.
I'll take a look at it. I'll try and take a
Well, I
look.
mean, Chris Chrisley
I'll
too.
take a look at it over the next couple of weeks.
It's
Another thing that.
It's gotta be fair, that they know what's going to happen so they can plan longer term too.
Right, I mean, the other thing that kind of comes into play is, each department's officer structure is different. How many captains they have, how many lieutenants they have, and why I bring that up is, I remember before I was an assistant chief for a while, I had fire prevention assigned to me as a captain, so not everything needs to be a chief, but if you're having trouble filling lieutenant positions and captain's positions, we can't just assume that, all right, some of these duties that So I just think we need to take a little bit deeper look at how this might play out. But I mean, this is kind of been my position for 5 years, so.
I had to write the reason to keep them.
Yeah, what's that?
I was the one with our first justification to keep
Right,
the 6 G, so.
yeah,
Um,
so I think it's good we're having the discussion, because,
I don't have an issue with like Kelly's getting information, gotta make the informed decision. Look at it from an operational point of view, but again, so like I said, I mean, I've heard it,
We
not to leave
started,
everybody in suspense on it, because the topic's been broached.
Danny started by
A lot of
saying-
comments outside.
Danny started, or you started by saying, is needs analysis. You're not gonna do a needs analysis. You're not gonna do a needs analysis. in 3
Right,
months.
so that's to keep the ball
We're
rolling,
gonna get the ball rolling, so, yeah.
but yeah, like, probably like, to make a decision, sometime, within reason, like, we don't want to tell them, we decided 2025, you're cutting down, we don't want to tell them in September. It's not fair to the other department. All right, anything else for operations?
Yes. I've been very involved in gathering and getting information on this, proposed motion change. And, I did participate in an online webinar that was run by the, New England states. There would seem to be a lot of New Yorkers on that. You have an opportunity to ask a couple questions, both one in the forum and a couple online afterwards. And I've got some answers on it. I'm building some good notes. I've shared those notes with the board and chiefs. Since then, they've published they published additional information. They put the actual webinar online, so you can go on and watch it if you want. I would encourage people to do that because there was just a ton of information there. And your take on it might be different than mine. Your read on what they're trying to say might be different than mine. So that has to do with that New England one. You got all the information. Last, I guess it was Thursday, I went to Clifton Park Firehouse and attended the evening meeting of the Capital Area Fire Districts Association. And wow, did they put a spin on this that was, to me was, they came just shy of saying that this is going to be the death of the fire service. And, I looked around the room, one guy has some weight with that organization. Says that, you follow this standard and none of you are going to be able to be firemen anymore. And I'm looking around the room, a room full of people that are a lot older than I am. Some of them with walkers, one with oxygen. And I'm saying, that's probably not a bad thing. And they're putting a real, it's the end of the world kind of spin on it, which I don't think it is. When I spoke up, I probably didn't make any friends that day, so I don't have to worry about being asked to do anything for that organization. But, it just, there's a lot to swallow with what's going on here. And I think I've looked at a lot of stuff we do and the second vice president of the state fire district association had a blurb in the email that we all get every Sunday morning. And I would encourage you to read it if you haven't read it. Dave Dennison's letter. He said, go through the standard with a couple of colored markers and highlight this, leave the stuff that you're doing already alone, and you'll be surprised at how much stuff you're leaving alone. Take one marker and color it one color on stuff you think would be relatively easy to do. Take a different color marker that's boy, we could do this, but it would be hard. And take the third color marker and mark the stuff that I don't see anybody else being able to do. And I would think that a lot of if we did ours, I've done it in my head, I've been going through it, I wouldn't want to do it by myself, I want to do it with a group of people representing both sides, both companies. I think that we have a lot of light and a lot of the first color of stuff that, that's low hanging fruit, we could probably do it. We're gonna have some of the stuff that's gonna take a little bit of work. But I don't think there's going to be much at all that isn't completely possible in one way or another. A lot of what I see deals with training. The word, as I mentioned in the memo that I sent everybody, the word training shows up. I don't know how many times it just keeps showing up. And when you read about what they're talking about on training, it's talking about standardized training that goes back to nationally recognized job performance requirements. And somebody who trains, as somebody who's familiar with training procedures, training methodologies, that makes it easier for our guys. It makes it easier for our people. We assign some lieutenant or captain to teach a drill, or, I mean, we send him to established curriculum, and he pulls out the parts that he or she thinks necessary, then they teach the drill. And that way, when somebody asks, we teach it to standard curriculum. So, I'm not gonna go much deeper in it with this, but, I mean, this is coming, and I encourage everybody to look at the standards that the standards being proposed. And I remember in 1970 when this was, in the 70s, when this actually was proposed in the late 70s and enacted in 80. There were those that were then, this is gonna be the death of the fire service. And we continued to move right along,
Common core for the fire district.
I mean, you look at the things that have happened since. I mean, when that was being proposed in 1978, 78, when those were around then, we were all wearing pull-up boots, rubber coats, or Norgatherm coats, and a lot of us had aluminum cairn senators' helmets. And Joey remembers that, right? And it's only because of those standards that went into effect in 1980 that you're no longer riding the back step. And you're no longer wearing that old style gear. So these things have been positive in reducing injuries, saving lives, et cetera, for fire service. So I don't want to paint the negative picture on this thing, but I'm spending a lot of time on it.
Well, it's good. It's good to get things more standard, sort of standard operations.
That's all I have on operations at this point.
Some things. Public session. Ooh,
I'm gonna open my mouth there. I got just a comment on the chiefs. I think 6 chiefs do a great job. We're trying to save money. We can still have 6 chiefs. Take the 2 cars away from them. Have that lower chief be like the house chief. He comes to the fire station, keeps the organization on a mutual aid drill or whatever, mutual aid fire, whatever, because a lot of times when we have a call, six of our chiefs go to a fire, who knows what they do? But if you have 6 chiefs, 4 of them can go do what they gotta do, have that 3rd chief that doesn't have a car, come to the station and organize the station for the night while we have that fire going on or whatever. And then if we have multiple pump outs, snow stuff, you have that chief there, he can still have his white head and just doesn't have a car.
Something to consider.
Three different scenarios, but. Bill, do you have something?
Yeah, excuse me. Couple of quick items. Pardon me. I'm on the county radio committee. I'm the secretary, and we were talking about batteries earlier in the meeting. The ones that have never been used, had anybody tried putting them into the conditioner rather than the charger? That was just a question.
Not sure, Chief Littlefield, if you're still on, or Chris or Nick. Yeah, so I'm not familiar with.
We will hold our charges.
Yes, we tried that. They don't have any charge left into them to even be recognized by the system. So
The ones that have never been used.
right.
Okay. The other thing is that, a few months back, I was here at a meeting and there were some building use requests that are being considered. Ended up being kind of a very spirited, session around that. And I think that the upshot was that, the board thought that maybe the existing policy lacks in clarity. And you're gonna go back and take a look at that policy. I've heard through the grapevine that it has been clarified or updated, revised, but I've not heard an announcement of what those changes are. Is that true? And if so, well, what is the policy now?
Sure, one thing.
It's November.
November, yeah.
November.
I think it was sent to the Department of President.
It was.
President's got it.
So that would have been Steve at the time. It wasn't
And
Steve.
then-
Reeseville side, if you wish, it's actually attached to the building use form.
Yes. No. Okay, well, I may have missed the meeting that it was announced the change there and where it was, but I hadn't seen it. One
I think also, Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think also, I believe whenever we update policies, Bonnie also puts a copy, it's in the same district policies in the binder.
Yes, we use the public access now, the computer, but just so you know, I hand delivered ones
Right.
to the wine skill president as well when that happened. We sent them electronically and then we hand delivered several copies of the form with the policy, with the checklist, everything.
It's 4 pages.
Can somebody just give me a quick overview of what it is, 2 sentences? If it's
I don't want to speak too much here. It was
I don't want to relate to something, but
for the building, it was immediate family. There was a definition of what immediate family was. And Bob, please correct me if I'm wrong. I know you guys put a lot of writing into this. I'm just going off the top of my head here. Immediate family use, basically grandfather, parent, son, daughter type thing. For organizations, it was governmental. It does not go through the fire company anymore. It goes to the district. So Red Cross or whatever, New York State, Munster County, Town North Greenwich, it would apply directly to the districts. A lot of times the turnaround needs to be quicker than wait for a company meeting to do a district meeting. I believe there was a thing there for the pavilion use that was a little more lax. Yeah. Bob, anybody else wants to chime in, please? I don't want to butcher this, but it was more,
You're good.
family that was more an extended family. Like my sister might be able to use pavilion, but she could not use the actual building. And it was classified more as a member benefit because it was like, for the active members, I don't say active members, for members of the department. So it kind of kept it within your function. So like I could have something here for Thomas, my son.
I think there was a little better definition of what constituted a firematic activity.
Yeah, it got into definitions and I don't have it in front of me.
all right, so.
It's attached to the building use.
Okay, all right, fine, I'll take a look at that. So, based on what you said, and I apologize if I'm gonna run the risk of offending a whole bunch of people, but that means then that a group of residents, taxpayers in the district, who may want to use the building for a meeting, building that they own, they won't be able to do that. Is that correct?
Right, like if I had my Dungeons and Dragons club, I couldn't have them come here. I'm not belittling, I was using me as an example.
I'm just.
Right, but every taxpayer has an opportunity to use this facility in the sense that there's nothing prohibiting them from becoming a volunteer at the DeFreesville Wine Skill Station. And it would be a member benefit. It's almost like a recruitment thing. So it's another benefit. We had to restrict it also. The district looked at operationally. You can't be down here every day of the week. If we open up to one group, you got to open up to the entire town. Every group would be open every other night. And it was just.
Yeah, I just want to.
Yeah, you're not offending me.
I'm talking about a group of people who reside in and are exclusively taxpayers in the district. They won't be able to use the building that they own.
I got one thought on this is that, and we beat this to death when we had our meeting on it.
Okay.
There are facilities about town that have halls and they charge for them. And by us picking and choosing who we allow to use this facility or the wine skill facility when it's renovated, we're first off making decisions that, well, this one got it, this one didn't. And we're also cutting into the pockets of those places that are in need, their income is based on the use of facilities. And it's not just all restaurants and those kinds of things. I'm not just talking about Muscatello or anybody like that. When I routinely get requests from people about where can I get a wall? Can I use a fire department wall? Had a member of this department years and years and years ago that left in the 80s, I guess. His father died last month and he's been cremated. They want to do a celebration of life. They contacted me, hey, what's the relatives around here? Can I do it at the firehouse? And I said, Joe, unfortunately not. We don't do that kind of thing anymore, but I can connect you with Donna Hunt over at the Legion, and I'm sure she'd take care of you. And that's what I sent you, was to the Legion.
That's okay. That's okay. I got the answer I was looking for. I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Anything else for public session? Yeah.
Just as president of Freesville, I want to thank the board for taking some proactive action regarding recruitment. At the beginning of my term as president, my company knows that that's one of my highest priorities. And I just want you to know, as a board, we're not expecting you to fund a program this year. We're looking to maybe see if there's funding opportunities such as grants that the district may be able to apply for that could help the whole district. And just want to say thank you for taking that action, and I appreciate if any communications go through myself, another Mikesville president, and or chairperson of your committee. So that way it goes direct to the chain of command.
Absolutely, and I do want to probably some over somewhere else also. When Freesville had their photography, when they had the picture state there, we did run the district inspection. So sometimes we do the great, sometimes we do the banquet was performed. They had quite the turnout. Everything was in order, and it's good there. So anything else for public session? Anything else? Motion to adjourn. Rich and Chris meet you. Rich, second by Chris. All